This is gonna be an incredible moment in your career. You know, you're gonna have many more, but this one is probably the biggest. You know, headlining your first card, but headlining it in your hometown. You know, how does that feel to be able to perform in front of your family and friends for the first time as, you know, the headliner?
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's what people have been asking me if there's more pressure on the moment, having everyone there. But it's I don't feel like it adds too much pressure in terms that I've been working hard. I've been working hard my entire career. So this to me is a showcase. I get to go out there and I get to show them all what I've been doing. In the gym every day and what I'm capable of. So, yeah, there definitely is more pressure, but it's for sure nothing I can't handle.
Yeah, it seems like you know, I've been watching you for a long time. You know, I've been talking with you for a long time, and you're pretty even keel. You know, you don't really get too high, you don't get really too low. You're just kind of smooth. That's more to the mental side. Have you always been like that? Have you been like that since the beginning of your career, or is this something you developed throughout the years?
Yeah, it's something. Well, it's a lot of different aspects. I feel like I've always been like this. I feel like I think I was leading into early on in my career and leading into my when I only had a couple of fights, and you would stress about it and you get nervous about it. And I'm just like a black or white person. I'm not. There's not too many different shades. And I was like, hey, you just talking to myself. I said, you either want to do this or you don't want to do this. If you're going to worry about it and make it an unenjoyable experience, then go get a real job, which I do not want to do. So ever since then, in that moment, and I decided black or white, you're either going to do this or you're not. And I decided this is what I want to do. I don't really get too many nerves going into fights, or I don't get it doesn't carry me away. I was interested in the last fight in Melbourne to see how that felt. Co-main event, 57,000 people, and it really wasn't all that much. Like I really, I was sitting out back and I was just like, oh, like this is. I'm not overwhelmed by any means. And so. To come and headline in Auckland, it's all been a progression throughout the career, just bigger fights, pay-per-views, then this, then that, then co-main event, then main event. Like it's just a progression. So it's been easier. It's been easy to handle because of the slow increase in experience. The difficult one would be, if you were getting thrown into those kind of fights just off the bat. I think that might be take a bit more time to adjust. But yeah, 14 UFC fights. I think there's 14. Plenty of time to adjust.
57,000. That walkout is much longer than a normal UFC walkout. And you said it didn't really affect you. Your performance was great against Ala Quinta. Systematically picked them apart. It was your first decision win of your UFC career. I think a lot of people probably don't know that, but did you feel that you showed something different about your skill set in that fight, or did you feel like you didn't show everything and this fight coming up is going to be the one?
Yeah, I guess it. Al was tough, so he could stay in there. Credit to Al, but yeah, I was kind of controlling the fight. That was. I don't want to be disrespectful to him in any way, shape, or form, but there was, plenty more gears left after that. There was first slipped it into second a couple of times, but it was good to show everyone that if you are in there, you're able to just completely outclass someone instead of just knocking them out or putting them to sleep like that, but to go out there and to just shut someone down. It's exciting. It's exciting. To go into future fights with that mentality that people get just as amped over that kind of result as they do over a big first round knockout.
You got two UFC champions alongside many other champions and many other promotions at the gym. Has the vibe changed any, or is it just the same as it was last year this time?
the ball has just kept rolling. To be honest, like it's never stopped. Like we never stopped and sat back and we're just like, oh, cool. Like let's rest here for a bit. You know, even between all of those fights in Melbourne and then now, like our programs are adjusting, our games are adjusting, what we're doing in the gym. Like it's what the whole thing has been. It's just slight improvements over time has accumulated in someone. And yeah, like people always ask about, you know, the secret to success of city kickboxing, and it's just the team. Like it's the team. It's the amount of work that's gone into the team, and it's the loyalty and it's the kind of brotherhood that is there within the team. It's not like you can just roll up and pay some money and you get welcomed in. Like if you don't bring something to the table, well then you're probably not going to get to work with the boys, and that is just work ethic. Like we train 7 days a week. People want to know why it's successful. We train 7 days a week. We train Saturday night. We train Sunday. We, you know, you go to these other gyms, and how many training partners are you going to get shown up to your session on Saturday night? You know, and then get them to all come back for Sunday to help you out. Like, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears shared between the boys, and there's a bit of there's a real strong brotherhood that I haven't come across in any of these other gyms.
The brotherhood is there, man. But is there unspoken competition amongst the fighters? Because, you know, you do have all these champions, and you got breakout fighter of the year, gym of the year. Is there something going on, you know, mentally against each other?
We keep each other like real honest. You know, it's funny. Like we just ride each other all day in the gym, and then you know, if you ask me about one of the boys on the interview, couldn't say nicer things. But it's a completely different story behind the scenes. You know, and yeah, we have been able to keep a very competitive team of guys with each other, which from experience usually dulls over time. Usually over time, like a group of guys get used to each other, and like a kind of hierarchy becomes established. Like everyone knows who the top dogs are, and then the guys down from them, and everyone kind of like when they're sparring, like leaves them alone or doesn't try real hard to hurt them. And then they just get a false sense of security because they're not getting pushed in the gym, because they're not getting beat up in the gym, and the younger guys aren't trying to take them out. You know, it's kind of makes the older guys fall asleep. But that's not happened at city kickboxing. Like I got young guys on my heels. I got, you know, the other guys they want my spot. You know, so I gotta prove myself like day in and day out of the gym. And we've kept a real competitive environment.
Felder, you know, he's coming up. He's the next name on the list. You know, he made some comments about knocking you out in front of your family and friends. You responded, you know, but what exactly did he say? Was it the part about family and friends that kind of crossed the line with you?
Nah, it's like a while before that. Me, I couldn't care less about that. Like, yeah, that's a professional thing to bring up. Like that's obviously what he intends to do. He intends to come and kind of and knock me out in front of everyone. But so knocking me out, friends and family, even though it's a dick thing to say, I don't really care at all about that. It's the comments that he was saying. You know, after the Iaquinta fight, he puts up like a meme on his page of someone picking up a prostitute, and he's just like, it's the internet, bro. Like people are sending me these pictures and being like, oh, heard you're looking for a fight. Like I couldn't have been more respectful when I called Paul out face to face, like a man. I call him out like that, and that's his response to that, is to insult my family name. So I said I was going to smash his face in when a fight gets announced. Then after that, you know, he responds with the same kind of thing, like putting a meme out, like backhands are good enough for hooker. Like, I don't know what the culture is like in America. Maybe it's a bit different, but where I'm from in New Zealand, especially Māori culture, to insult someone's family name is to insult that. You're insulting that whole line. Like I would never even think to do it back to Felder, because if you disrespect someone's family name, I get it. Like hooker, great. You say it to my face, I'm gonna chin you. That's just that, you know. I would never, even now, as a payback, insult them as a family name, because you're insulting that whole line of people. So for me, that there is too far, and that there is why, you know, when we face off, I bring the intensity, and I'm gonna bring the intensity into the fight.
Yeah, I saw the face off. I'm pretty sure everybody saw the face off in Auckland. It was very intense, but there was kind of a funny moment where it was so intense when the camera guys were saying, "Can you guys face forward?" They said it like 2 or 3 times, and you guys were just zoned in, laser focused. Did you hear them say that to you, or were you so in the moment?
No, I didn't really hear that. That's yeah. I wasn't really thinking about any of them. I couldn't really care less. Like I wanted to, you know, just let him know that he needs to go back to wherever he's from and train his ass off, because he's picked a fight and he's got one on his hands. So I want the best Paul Felder at the end of the day. I want him in the gym. I want him working hard. I want him motivated. So I needed to let him know.
Felder, he's known as a striker, you know, not really a guy that takes people down. And a lot of people feel like, hey, this is going to be something that is in your favor as a knockout artist, because Felder hasn't really knocked out anybody, you know, in the UFC. Do you see it that way?
It's an MMA fight at the end of the day. Like, I'm sure if the opportunity presented itself for him to take me down, he's going to take me down. I'm sure if it presented itself to me, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. Like it's that's the one of the most general concepts of MMA is the least the least resistance. You're gonna go with the path of least resistance. So if it's there, it's there, you know, and he'll be feeling the same thing. But if he thinks he's going to be handy on the feet, then that definitely works into my cards.
Now let's talk about some of the current events, you know, in the UFC and in MMA in general. You know, I like to pick your brain about this. Stephen A. Smith, man, he comes out, he's hitting the mitts. You know, who's to blame for that terrible display? Is it him wearing the gloves, or is it the guy holding the mitts?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I guess it comes down to the coach, man. I would never put up a video if that's the kind of mitt work that was going out. But yeah, I just heard, I didn't even hear the rant. I just heard like Joe Rogan say, oh no, I did. I maybe read a transcript about it. The things he was saying about Cerrone being like too disrespectful from someone that's not educated on the sport by any means. I could rail off 1,000 people that you yourself are exponentially more qualified to make those sort of statements. But you watch ESPN, you watch how the broadcasters do it. They're hypercritical of all the athletes. I just feel like we ain't on that NFL insult money. I feel like you got to tie that shit. You got to chill that shit, man, because I don't throw a ball around for a living. I don't kick something for a living. Like, I'll put my fist through your fucking skull.
Yeah, I think that's what Rogan was talking about, you know, that like you just said, it's a whole nother sport. You cannot, you know, you cannot describe a fighter as that way as you would describe a guy that's throwing a ball.
It's a sport, but we are not sportsmen. We are not athletes. We are fighters, and that is a completely different concept, and requires a completely different level of understanding.
Going back to that fight, McGregor, he takes out Cowboy less than a minute. You know, what was your assessment of that performance? Did you think like McGregor's back, or was it just not? What did you think of the overall sequence of that fight?
Um, Incredible performance from McGregor. Let's just say that, and surprised me how overwhelming and how quick it was. How quick he caught him off that first knee. But let's be honest, like overall, that was a terrible stylistic matchup for Cowboy Cerrone. Like, he doesn't fight southpaws well. He's a slow starter. Conor McGregor, notoriously fast off the bat. I saw it playing out there. I thought, he would overwhelm him pretty early, but incredible performance. And it looks like he's next in line to get the title shot by the looks of things.
Yeah, that's the next question, man. Like, you are in the contender race, and you got a guy fighting a welterweight fight and beats a guy that hasn't won a lightweight fight in I think the last 3 fights. And then he's jumped the line. And when you look at that, it's just like, man, what do I have to do to get this title shot, right?
Man, that's a funny game, like that positioning and jockeying for position for a title shot. Because you do look at it, a guy like Tony Ferguson, 12 fights, still yet to get his title shot. We'll fingers crossed, man. I got my fingers crossed that they both make it to the dance. But and then a guy like Al Iaquinta, who's booked on the same card, and then gets a call on a day's notice. So things can, this game is one thing, the fans and everyone loves about this game is that things can get flipped on their head in a punch. It needs to get flipped over by someone missing weight. Like, it's incredible the changes that can happen in the sport.
Another thing is you and Felder have a common opponent in the past, Edson Barboza. He has come out and said he's going to drop down this year to featherweight and make a run, or try to make a run. Being someone that has done this, is it smart for a fighter to, so late in his career, to drop a weight class and chase after that?
He has to make a decision that's best for him and his career as a fighter. You look at the guys, he's fought all of the top guys at lightweight, so there's very few opportunities left for him at lightweight that people haven't seen. So then a weight class move is the logical step. Could he go up to welterweight? You look at the welterweight top 10. Man, they're grapplers, right? Who are you going to fight? Usman's the champ. Colby Covington. Michael Chiesa is now jumping in there. Even RDA. Like, all of these guys are stylistically terrible matchups for Barboza. Or does he drop down to featherweight? Holloway's a striker. All these guys down at that weight class. Korean Zombie, Alex, Aldo. Like, all of these guys are strikers. So stylistically, in the top 10, moving up or moving down, featherweight makes far more sense in my book for him.
A common theme, as of late or the past couple of years, is guys chasing after the Conor fight, and I know you've said your piece on that, but then they've also been chasing after these boxers. Is it something that they're wasting their time on, or is it just like something that people are just saying to get into the headlines? What do you think it is?
It'll be interesting with the UFC, their move into boxing. So maybe people are just, maybe these fighters like Stipe and other guys are just putting the idea that they would cross over into the public's heads. So when the UFC, whenever it does make its move into boxing, then the seed is already planted for Miocic, Tyson Fury, or something ridiculous like that. But to go into a specialist world and to compete against these specialist guys is not a smart move. It's not a smart move. If, Miocic, Fury, like, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, these guys are going to get themselves hurt. Even Jorge Masvidal, Canelo, like, come on, my guy. Like, you're good boxing for MMA, and I'm sure you sparred some pro boxers before, but Canelo, come on, my guy, it's a different game.
Definitely. Now for yourself, your last fight was in Australia. This fight will be in New Zealand. Do you plan on just saying, "Hey, man, if I'm this good, I might as well just stay and fight over here," for the future being? Or do you plan on going stateside and say, "Hey, man, I need to get over there at that T-Mobile Arena and get on some of those pay-per-views"?
Been to T-Mobile. I've been fighting on pay-per-views in the States. I fought on a few. If you look at, once it gets to a certain level, you're going to have to fight exclusively in the US. Well, it depends, it depends. We're doing pay-per-views now in this side of the world. Main events, like, we'll have to see how things goes. I feel like if you ever get the strap, you're either doing a pay-per-view down here or that's got to be stateside, like Israel. Like, Israel's only going to fight on pay-per-views for the remainder of his career. So it definitely changes once you get the belt around your waist. And I guess it's something I feel good down here. I feel good on this side of the world. Bro, it sucks traveling that way. It sucks going all that way in a plane. Like, I lose like a bit more weight before I get on the plane, like, just in case, because it sucks. Jet lag sucks. Like, and you got to block all of that stuff out. Like, I don't even have to leave my house for this fight. I'm going to stay at my house. I'm going to drive to the venue. I'm going to kick his ass and I'm going to leave. Like, it's going to be very straightforward and very, something that's not going to take me out of my comfort zone at all.
Is it true that flying over there and fighting compared to flying from the United States or North America to Australia or this side of the world, is it harder?
Bro, to be honest, you just block all of that sort of stuff out. It's not even something I think about or something I really process. Where I have it now, it would have been incredibly difficult at featherweight. But now that I'm at lightweight and I walk around with not much weight to cut, I lose a little bit more because I know how to travel. Like, that makes it a lot easier, but it definitely puts an added toll on your body. Like, you can feel it when you get off the plane. Like, it takes a bit of time moving around the gym to get used to. So obviously prefer this side of the world, but I don't really care at the end of the day. I know it's accepted, being from New Zealand, that you're going to have to get on a plane to fight people. It's been part of our sport down here for so long that I guess we're just used to it.
Well, whatever happens on this card, I'm pretty sure it's going to be an incredible fight. And I'm hearing rumors that Australia will have another card in the early summer. Most likely we'll see you on there after this one.
What day? What day is that?
I don't know. I just heard, some rumors, flying around.
I heard some things.
Oh, yeah, I heard some things. So, I expect you to be on there. I'm pretty sure everybody on that side of the world is expecting that. Appreciate the time, Dan, like always. I'm looking forward to this fight. Really, it's just stylistically, it's just going to be violence. And I'm pretty sure you're thinking the same way, man. Appreciate all the time, man, always.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Cheers.